very good afternoon. Been a while since we last met, I think closing a week. But a week is a good time for you to be able to practice all the things that we've been learning in this amazing session called 200 Minutes to VARC. It is me, Suyukti, who's going to walk you through another very important 25 minutes of your life, which is going to be all about the topic that we have. Now, when it comes to the CAT paper, you understand that apart from the 16 questions, the remaining questions are the ones wherein you spend less amount of time, but then they can really get you good marks. But the catch there is that they're not simple. They are the ones which are not comprehension oriented as much as they are logic oriented. So we have, of course, the demonizing parajumbles. We then have the paracompletion, something that we will address today. And then we have the oath sentences and the summaries. Now, while all of them, barring the summaries, the three of them are pretty much identical. So they're like brother or sister from another mother. That's how it is. So, they have the same gene pool in terms of how the logic has to be. But the approach to it differs. So while you would see a lot of people apply the rules of the mandatory pair while doing the paracompletions, but then there are always a few things that have to top the rules of the mandatory pair as well. Since we have discussed the rules of the mandatory pair previously, we're not going to be talking about those today. What we will be talking about are going to be the other things that you have to keep note of. So those can also be your very go-to tricks for you to identify which of the following is going to be the correct answer. And it can also help save a lot of time. So all the strategies that we talk in all of these classes are applicable strategies. They're not the kinds, wherein it's going to take you a lot of time to finish up. They're going to be very quick, they're going to be very precise, and they're really going to boil you down to what the correct answer is going to be. So please make sure that it is not all talks, it is all walks also. So you try to inculcate them and learn from it. And learning also, it's not a 1 day or a 2 day shot. Learning for these requires skill, and skill takes time. And this is something that we have time and again talked about. So without any further ado, let us begin with the very interesting topic that we have, which is going to be 25 minutes to paracompletion. So for the next 25 minutes, I would want you to really fasten your seatbelts and stay with me, because this will be worth it. That's something I can definitely promise. And with that, let us start. So first things first, I'm going to create a vibe. Now, paracompletions, unlike parajumbles, are approachable. We feel that, okay, this looks like, okay, I can do something because there are options. And whenever you have something that is assisted with options, there is a natural, motivation that comes to do it. You look forward to it because it's not as trappy, and it's not as confusing, and it's not as convoluted as something which doesn't have any options whatsoever. While I do understand that, but you have to understand that all of the options are deceptively close. They are so intertwined with one another that you have to really have the hawk's eye to be able to know what is the right answer and what is not. So paracompletion are those trap questions which allure you towards themselves, but then they are not really your friend. They're disguised friends. Well, they can be for as long as you are compatible with them. So now, paracompletion happens to be that one CAT question where 90% of the aspirants feel that the right answer and still get it wrong. Now, why does this happen? So you have an option, you have an incentive to approach it, आप कर भी देते हो, but फिर आपको लगता है कि यार ये तो गड़बड़ हो गया. क्या गड़बड़ हुआ इसमें? Why? Because CAT doesn't test the gut feeling, it tests the logic of how you read and understand the tone, the flow, and the closure. Now, in a paracompletion, please understand there is no guarantee as to which completion are they asking. Is it going to be the last line? Is it going to be a first line? Is it going to be a line in between? So there's going to be a lot of, there's going to be a lot of approach to how you read, tonality kya hai uski, formulation of idea kya hai, organization of passage kya hai, style of writing kya hai. So not only are the rules of the mandatory pair which are going to just tell you sequentially kya idea aana hai, that is going to help. These things also have to fit. Because in paracompletion, you know what happens? See, in parajumbles, all are going to be of the same write-up. So you know, okay, writing style is the same. But here, an idea might be synonymous, but if it doesn't fit into the style of writing, then it will not be an answer. So, more things are at stake here. Which is why paracompletions can actually be quite a challenge. Now, that's what we're going to do. Today, we'll try and crack the code. We'll not be very sentient emo about it. We'll be very focused about it. So we're going to understand the core rules that are there. We're going to understand some common traps and how to avoid them. We're then trying to do some 3 CAT level practice. And then, of course, a quick framework that is a recap of all things that we learn in today's class. Now, first things first, what exactly is a para completion? Para is a contraction of the word paragraph. Completion means to complete, which means one of the line is going to be omitted, and out of the 4 options you have to find that one line which, when put into the paragraph, it makes a coherent paragraph, which is it makes a meaningful paragraph. Now you're giving an incomplete paragraph, and then you have to pick up a sentence that is logically and cohesively completing. The last line has to feel inevitably like the only possible conclusion. Now it depends, like I said, which line are they going to give you. If they give you the last line, you have to make sure it's the conclusive of the lot. Now what is the trick here? Every option will look grammatically fine, but there's only one. So grammar can be your friend. It can give you a lead, but it's not going to give you a win-win case here. So everything has to be a recipe for you to be able to know what the para completion is going to be all about. But before we move on to the questions, some do's that I want you to always keep focus of. Starting with first, maintain logical flow. Always remember, guys, it's very important that whatever you put in as the next line must maintain the logical flow of the idea. It can't be abrupt ideas. It can't be random ideas that are popped up, right? If you are trying to make something, there has to be symmetry, there has to be sequence, there has to be meaning, there has to be structure. So please make sure that whatever you do, you tend to make a logical connection, a logical correlation with the idea. The rules of the mandatory pair, of course, can help you play here. So the completion should continue the argument. It should not change it. Unless you have a hook word or something, which is trying to give you that idea that, okay, now we want to talk about the other side of it. Now, if the para builds, it should be like a build up, cause, effect, and then, of course, your last should complete that chain. Right? Because that's how I understand that. That's how the anatomy of that paragraph is all about. Now, example, social media has blurred the line between the news and the entertainment. Some people now consume information in shorter, more visual formats. Of course, whatever be the correct completion is going to be, as a result, attention spans have shortened and the depth of the engagement has declined. So I have something which was nothing but a deduction of the 2 lines, that is social media, the shortness, and of course the entertainment value. Perfect. Now, what could not have been an answer was, however, newspapers. I mean, why are you getting a newspaper? That's a disruption, right? Unless the opening lines talked about the contrast between, or a comparative idea between newspapers, the traditional mode of information, and the social media. Then it would have been a logical add-on, but not otherwise, of course. On to the next. Second, always match the tone. You have to make sure that the tone is matched. The tone at the end must echo the paragraph's critical, ironic, optimism, analytical, etc. Whatever it is, it needs to echo. It has to be in rhyme and rhythm with it. Because if it is not, it will not make a compatible idea. It will not make a happy idea. And that is, again, something which is a big time no-no. So if it starts sarcastically, you can't end philosophically. Right? You have to make sure that that banter is maintained all throughout. So be careful about the tone. The next rule is look for transition clues. There will always be words like, however, thus, therefore, clearly, hence. Now, these are always the cat's breadcrumbs. They're going to leave these for you to think, for you to ponder, for you to know that, okay, this is what I want the idea to be. So these are your signpostings. You have to pay attention to them, and you have to see what is the context of these. Why are they there? Are they there for a reason, or are they simply there to, they're simply there because no other hook word was fitting in? But that generally doesn't happen. They're all there for a cause, right? So ask things like, does this transition logically follow what is being said? So if something is being said and then there is a however, which means, something which has to be a slight bit of a contrast, but a consequential idea also. So whatever should be your idea should have that, that itch, that abruptness, the fact that you are now twisting the idea and you're switching gears from there. It has to be visible. Next, spot the central idea. Always make sure that whatever has to be your list of words, it has to be pivotal around what the paragraph is saying. Which is why whenever we do para completion, the first thing we do is read the paragraph with the blank, so that you know what sort of an idea is being talked about. Now, when you have a grip on the central idea, you know that you have to pivot, right? Sort of you have to keep skirting around that idea. You're not going to go leaps and bounds outside. And that also gives us a little bit of stability. So please make sure you spot what the central idea is going to be. Summarize the para in about a couple of words and then start looking. Just a tip, if the paragraph has multiple ideas, the last line should unify them. So that's logic, right? And it is always that logic prevails while doing para completions. Rule number 5, continuation, not closure. Now, please always understand, guys, not every time the last line is the end of an excerpt. Now, when you know it is the end, you'll know how the information has been given out. Then, of course, you want an end to it, like a closure. But whatever should be your line, it's always an excerpt that has been taken out. It's not, we don't know where it has been taken out, which paragraph did this belong to. So please make sure that your ideas are all about continuation. Just continue the idea. You have to make sure that it syncs. That is, it is in synchrony with the idea that is being talked about. You don't have to end it right there. So continuation, not a new subpoint, no introduction of an external fact. If the para feels open-ended, the correct option usually brings a sense of direction. And that is how you have to understand. Now, for example, can you put a full stop after the line without feeling something's missing? If yes, you found it. So if you think that's the last line, and then you're like, no, something is missing, I need to add more to this. That means you have, that is not the line that you feel should have been the idea. So those are the things that you can swear by, which will always play fair with you. We now have the 5 don'ts, the traps, the kinds of things you have to be very wary of. Beginning with the first, the echo traps. Now these options repeat keywords from the para but add nothing new, and the cat loves it. So they will just keep reiterating the same ideas. You have to talk about continuation. एक ही बात को बार बार थोड़ी दोहरा दोगे. And जो भी होनी है वो previous idea से और आगे वाले idea को bridge करनी चाहिए. That is what is going to be the right answer, not otherwise. Contrasting confusion. Now, if the para tone is neutral and the option starts with however or but, be cautious. Contrast implies a shift. All of these words are there for a reason. Don't just fall for it. And sometimes I know it feels very artistically correct. We're like, no, we want to give this. But no, that's not how it is. So please be careful about that. Opinion insertion if para was opinion insertion if para was factual and option suddenly moralizing, hence this is wrong, is out. Don't give your opinion. Nobody's asking for it. We are not allowed to add something. So if you've found that, okay, here the author is suddenly tilted towards, or he has an inkling to a certain idea, that's not going to be your answer, because we don't have enough information to be able to say that with surety. Overgeneralization. This shows human nature as a whole. Overgeneralization is you take one line and then you're able to sort of just conclude everything that has been talked about. That's wrong. Now, in a parajumble, like I said, we don't a paragraph that has been extracted. We don't know where the paragraph's been taken from. So you can't propose a unanimous conclusion for all. That's wrong. That can't be done. Eliminate. And the last, incomplete closures. If the option makes you think, and then what? It is not really the last line. So if you think that the kind of arrangement of the paragraph is such wherein you're trying to end it up, then at that point of time, you would really want to know if the end line is going to make any sense or not. So these were, of course, the kinds of things that you have to be wary of. Like I said, you have to be careful. Very applicable, I'm sure, by the theory of it. You must be thinking that, okay, this I can do. So please make sure that you do it. And with that, let's try a couple of examples to be able to see. Now, the problem with modern, now I've just taken random statements. So clearly we need to add an extension to the idea. Now, the problem with modern education is not lack of infrastructure or teachers, but the lack of curiosity. So they say curiosity is a problem. Students today study to pass exams, not to explore ideas. They just do it for the heck of it. It's not that they want to intellectually grow, which means whatever should be about the fact that how today's structure does not seem to stimulate the mind. Rather, it is just about what old school learning is all about. So the sense of complaint, that's what we want. Let's see. Teachers must therefore encourage more classroom participation. Okay. Now throughout the passage, the last line, if you see, where students today do, some such things, and which means a subsisting idea needs to be around what the students tend to do. That's how the subject continues. I cannot have a teacher must therefore encourage. This can't be. The system rewards rote learning over. Okay, this is not a rewarding fact. I need to have a complaint. This can't be the answer. Hence, it is not surprising that innovation is scarce. Well, yes, it continues on the same tone, and that is exactly what रोड लर्निंग इतनी ज्यादा है कि हमें लग रहा है कि इंटेलेक्चुअल स्टिमुलेशन है ही नहीं, इसलिए इनोवेशन सरप्राइजिंग नहीं है. So I can of course end it. However, exam reforms, now I can't add a new idea. However, is going to change the course of my argument. That's not going to be the answer, which means the correct answer becomes C. How did I get? It was a logical closure, cause, effect, and of course the structure was completed. Let's try one more. Democracy is not merely the right to vote, it is the capacity to make informed choices. You can make informed choices. When citizens are swayed by misinformation, democracy weakens. And then when citizens are swayed by misinformation, the democracy weakens. Let's see next. Now, clearly, which means the next will have to be, because the first line went about by saying that it's all about the informed choices, and that when citizens don't do it, which means you're trying to urge the citizens to get into something. Does the media, okay, why are we talking about the media? Not my answer. The strength of democracy lies in the informed citizenry. Well, yes, this can be, but then over here, I have to have a sense of skepticism. This doesn't have that. This has more of, this is what they need to do. I don't want this. I might want to keep this for a while. However, misinformation has always existed. Explicit. This rule applies everywhere. Hence, citizens must critically evaluate every piece of information. Sense of skepticism. D becomes my answer. Now I can eliminate B. So see, I did reserve one, but then I finally had an answer to myself. So returns agency to citizen. It's a complete loop that we have done. Let's try the last. Economic growth has often been mistaken as a measure of social progress, but rising GDP can coexist with inequality and environmental degradation, right? Which means that we now have to do what? It starts with a but, which is a contradiction. It says that it is a mistaken concept and that, rising GDP can coexist with inequality and environment degradation, which means whatever we want to talk about, we want to talk about the fact that what we're doing is wrong. It's a misunderstood concept, which means either we correct it or we continue on the misunderstanding. Let's see. Hence, we need to rethink what development truly means. Make sense? Right? Because it's continuing on the same idea as to how misinformed we are. Let's keep this. Growth and equality must go hand in hand, but we were talking about inequality. This can't be the answer. Adding a new, although it is a reverse, right? Inequality and growth. So you talk about equality, and that's a given. If some kids are playing, some are not, but that's not how it's taken. The focus must shift now towards sustainable growth. No, that's not. We want to continue on the misinformation. Social progress is an illusion, which means that we're what is happening is correct, because progress is an illusion. No, it is an actuality, something that we must be accepting of and something that we must be working towards. So this is not what the idea is, which means the correct idea is A. There was an abstract closure which captures the meta idea, not just the policy, the deeper idea that we had. And this was our attempt to 25 minutes to paracompletion. I am sure you might have had a lot of facts that were driving home with you, because this was important, and where every mark matters, a correct answer can fetch you how much marks. So I will simply end by saying that the next time you see a paracompletion, don't look for beauty. It's not how beautiful your answer is. It's about the structure. It's about the logic. If you found value, please do share it with your VARC gang and let them know about this amazing series that we are having, which is called the 200 minutes. And of course, do write in the comments, how are you scoring in the paracompletions, until I go to the last, which is going to be tomorrow, which is going to be all about the odd sentences. Thank you so much, guys. It was a pleasure to be taking a class for you, like always. I'm sure all of these visual words are getting through and that you are trying to inculcate them, because that is what we're doing this for. CAT is just around the corner. We don't have time to waste. We don't have time to ponder. Just get up, sit on your study table and get your head thinking why an answer and why not. And I'm going to see you guys next time. Until then, please keep practicing. Thanks again.